Hello, my friends. Our topic is astrology and spirituality. There are a lot of ways to think of spirituality. I'm going to focus on one particular way of thinking about spirituality. I'm also going to focus on one particular way of thinking about astrology. And we're going to see how astrology and spirituality are closely connected to each other. So first, spirituality. What I want to focus on is, who am I? Who are you? As babies, we cannot process very much information. We become children, we become adolescents, we become adults. Everything is changing. But there's one thing that remains consistent, which is our point of awareness. We can remember back to when we were children. So this point of consciousness remains through all of the changes. And that point of consciousness we think of I. Well, what are the qualities? What are the characteristics of that point of consciousness? It's not exactly the way we are now, because we can change. We can change emotionally. We can change mentally. If there's physical injury to the brain, to the nervous system, if there's illuminating experiences, all kinds of things can happen that change us. People will go through hormone therapy and their whole bodies change. But that point of consciousness is always there. So what are the qualities of that point of consciousness? Well, we can think of our point of consciousness as a clear light that takes on the qualities of our experiences, takes on the qualities that our bodies are in our various interactions and experiences give us. So we can think of us as some kind of clear light, and we have a perfect image of this. A light going into a prism. So on the left side of this light, left side of the prism, we see this clear light, this narrow beam of light going into the prism, coming out and spreading out into a rainbow of colors. This means that, in a sense, that rainbow of colors is in the clear light. Otherwise, how did it change into it? So we can think of each one of us as a rainbow of colors, where each color is a different quality, a different characteristic, a different motivation, a different tendency. And we all have a different spectrum of colors. Some of us have more red, some of us have more blue. So I'm going to read from this slide, which repeats what I just said. A person is pure consciousness. That's what's consistent through all the changes in our lives. We are like the clear light. What we are is like the clear light coming into the prism from the left side. This pure, clear consciousness is filtered like light going into a prism. The colors that the light is broken into are like the individual personality characteristics, our talents, our behaviors, our personality traits. Some of us have more red, some of us have more blue, etc. We are pure light bubbles in the ocean of consciousness. This is the spiritual perspective that I'm going to present to you. People experience the sense of oneness, of interconnectedness, of being a part of everything, of having all of the qualities, all of the experiences within ourselves. This can happen in meditation. People sometimes experience this through various kinds of drug experiences. Some people just are born with this kind of awareness. So our individual differences are the way that the pure consciousness becomes variegated. And thus the dance of life is possible. If there's only clear light, there's no dance. There's no complexity. There's not all these little differences. So the dance of life happens as all of the specific details of life develop. So we can think of a person as a specific combination of let me say that again. We can think of a person as a specific combination of the diverse qualities that are integrated into a oneness, just as all these colors are inside the clear light. So in that clear light there is an extraordinary infinite range of specific qualities. A person is like a fractal image in which infinity is embedded within a finite space. So what happens is that this clear light is infinite. We know there's infinity. I can say a number, 1 million, you can say 1,000,001, I can say 2 billion. Infinity is there, but we can't hold it, we can't grasp it. Our consciousness is limited by being in a finite space. So we are in a finite space with infinity embedded within us. This is similar to what we see in fractals. One simple fractal, for example, is the Sierpinski triangle, very well-known image in fractals. So let's see, this is good. I've got this captured pretty nicely. So here's an image of the Sierpinski triangle. Let me push this all the way to the left. So there's a triangle. Okay, very simple. Equilateral triangle. All three sides are the same. And this Sierpinski triangle is an extremely simple idea. It's simply that with this particular image, by the way, I'm at mathigon.org, mathigon.org. I like to give credit to anything that I'm using here. So let me do that again. As I move this little slider thing to the right, Sierpinski triangle is simply we draw a triangle inside the other triangle. And one of the ways to do it is to go halfway between each of the three lines and make that the vertex, that little point of the triangle. Now we're going to do it again. Now we've got these three new triangles, the red ones, and we're going to draw triangles inside of those. And there they are. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new triangles. And out of all the new triangles, we put triangles inside of those. That's an extremely simple idea. And there they are. And you can do it again and again. And how many times can you do it? Forever. So this is a very simple example of how infinity is enclosed in a finite space. This is analogous to the condition of a human being. Within the finite space that we occupy in our bodies is dwelling infinity. And a simple fractal like this shows you how infinity can be embedded within finite spaces. Okay, let me go back to my PowerPoint. So this pure infinite consciousness goes through a prism, spreads out into all these different qualities and characteristics and motivations and interests, and that variegated field, we can call it, becomes embodied in us, and we become a point of consciousness experiencing this hugely complex, diverse world, all born out of the oneness. Now, that's the aspect of spirituality that I want to focus on. It's not the only thing we can talk about with spirituality, but just one idea, that we are a pure consciousness that experiences this incredible diversity. All of these colors and experiences, incredibly complex. So here's a question. Is there something similar to this prism that divides the pure light into the colors and shows us the quantity and color, the quantity and quality of the colors as they are configured for an individual person? In other words, I'm making an analogy of this rainbow on the right to each one of us. Each one of us is a rainbow of specific colors and qualities and traits that is born out of the oneness. There's a point of consciousness always connected, always a part of that oneness, of the everything, of the all, and that is experiencing our lives, experiencing time moment by moment, experiencing everything we're doing. So is there some way that we could see how from that pure consciousness, some kind of prism that shows how you and I and everyone else has developed these qualities out of that oneness? Each one of us has our own prism that splits the infinite pure consciousness into the characteristics of each one of us. And yes, there is an understanding of the prism of each one, and we're calling this new technology cosmic cybernetics. Cosmic cybernetics is the study of the prism of consciousness. It's the study of how that pure consciousness becomes variegated and developed for each one of us. Another term for cosmic cybernetics is vibrational cosmobiology or vibrational astrology. So cosmic cybernetics is a form of astrology. It's a specific form of astrology with a particular set of rules and a particular theoretical framework. This is the theoretical framework for cosmic cybernetics. For the rest of this video, I will call it vibrational astrology. So every form of astrology has a theoretical framework, a set of assumptions. The assumption of many modern forms of astrology is that astrology is an archetypal language, that Venus is the archetype of beauty and Mars is the archetype of a warrior. And these mythic stories are played out in the sky and are synchronously involved in our lives. That is not the theoretical framework of vibrational astrology. The theoretical framework of vibrational astrology is that there's a pure infinite consciousness that becomes variegated, that becomes distributed out, just like the prism breaks the pure, clear light into all these colors. And that's what astrology is fundamentally. The archetypal stories are incredibly important. They're very powerful. But that does not mean that astrology works fundamentally and essentially as an archetypal language. So now we see the connection between spirituality and astrology, in that astrology, specifically vibrational astrology, is a prism that shows how the pure consciousness becomes distributed out into each one of us. Now, another thing about vibrational astrology that you may be already familiar with is that vibrational astrology is also extremely evidence-based. We have extremely advanced and sophisticated research studies of databases that shows with extremely high confidence that there are actual planetary configurations associated with particular behaviors. So, for example, as I say here on this slide, in the last paragraph, vibrational astrology has already identified, for example, planetary configurations that are associated with bipolar disorder. 3 exclamation points. This is done. The research has been done. The confidence levels are very high. What we call effect sizes in research methods, very high. It's already done. So rigorous research confirming these findings have already been done, even though extremely few astrologers are aware of this. And, of course, non-astrologers are not aware of it. The fact people are not aware of it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It has already happened. And last year I published the book in the year 2022, The Astrology of Bipolar Disorder, a Scientific Breakthrough, and it goes into great detail, explaining how we have discovered that astrology actually works. There's an actual, real correlation of planetary positions with human behavior. Now, the rules for how that relationship exists and why it exists has nothing to do with zodiac signs or houses or rulerships or the things that astrologers normally use. It's a new set of rules, not completely new. It's built on a certain thread of ancient ideas. One little thread has blossomed into a whole new field that in this video we'll call vibrational astrology. Sometimes we call it, as I mentioned, cosmic cybernetics, and sometimes we call it vibrational cosmobiology. So not only does vibrational astrology have strong support from modern research methods, that's mind-boggling. I mean, this is already done. There's a revolution going on. But also, this revolutionary new technology of vibrational astrology provides a detailed understanding of how the astrology works. And it's a very detailed, a very internally consistent, very inspiring explanation of how and why there is a relationship of planetary positions to actual human behavior. And this explanation is very compatible with modern science, very consistent with ideas in modern science. It's also consistent with ideas in spirituality. So the common idea that what we are is a pure, infinite oneness that's experiencing all of this diversity and complexity, this dance, the divine Leela, as it's sometimes called, that we're experiencing this. That's a fundamental idea in a lot of spiritual traditions, and it's fundamental to vibrational astrology. And again, what is the astrology? The astrology is the prism. It's where that pure light is spread out into the characteristics for each one of us. Now, that may sound very abstract and like a lot of woo-woo, but no, we figured this out in tremendous detail. The actual rules, the actual mechanisms, the way that this happens, just as we have figured out what the relationships are with high confidence, and the scientific progress in vibrational astrology is very rapid. Each year we have new discoveries. In fact, this year, I'm making this video in December 2023, well, the coming year in May of 2024, I will give a weekend seminar to update people on the latest discoveries. There's also a vibrational astrology conference. There's different events to update people on the latest discoveries. But in addition to that, there is our understanding of how, in detail, vibrational astrology works. And as we look at those details, it is consistent with modern science, and it's consistent with our ideas in spirituality. So what I want to do now is show you a little bit of the details, that this is not just some vague philosophical thing. I want to show you a little bit of the details of how this prism works, how this celestial patterning, this fractal patterning of what is going on around us is in a fractal relationship to our lives, and how that takes the essential oneness of life and breaks it down. So let's look at, for example, zodiac signs. We can look at planets, we can look at zodiac signs, we can look at houses, we can look at a lot of different things. But I want to show you how we understand what zodiac signs are. What is Aries? What is Taurus? Well, tropical Aries is the first 30 degrees after the vernal equinox. Why? Why would the first 30 degrees after the vernal equinox affect human life and make people concerned about certain things? And the next 30 degrees we call Taurus. Well, it seems to make no sense. It seems to just be some mythic relationship. But actually, almost unbelievable, it's actually consistent with scientific thinking. You have to just add a few more concepts to what we know in science, and voila, you have zodiac signs. Well, you might say, oh, you have to add some things. That's what science is about. New discoveries, new insights. So there are some things that you can add to our scientific understanding of how the world works, and voila, you have zodiac signs. I explain this in tremendous detail. It's very detailed, very intricate. If you want to get into all those minute details and you like that kind of thing, I've made about a dozen videos on it. Here I want to present the basic concept to emphasize something that I don't emphasize in those other videos, which is that we are talking about this prism out of these fundamental forces of life the zodiac is created. So here's how it works. There's something called spin. You're familiar with spin. The Earth is spinning on its axis every 24 hours. The Earth is revolving around the sun once a year. That, in physics, in astrophysics, is considered a kind of spin. They also call it angular momentum. In fact, the Earth has two kinds of angular momentum. One is its spin on its axis. The other is the way the Earth revolves around the sun. So the Earth has angular momentum split into two sections. This is standard astrophysics. Now, amazingly, not only does the Earth have spin, but our solar system, our sun at the center of our solar system, is going around what? It's in a galaxy going around the galactic center. The whole galaxy has spin. Each planet has spin. And if you drill down to the subatomic particles, guess what? They have spin. Also known as angular momentum. At that subatomic level, as you might know, things get weird because the science from right now suggests they're not actually physically spinning, like the Earth spins, and the sun revolves around the galactic center. But they still have angular momentum. One of those weird things that happen at subatomic levels. What's amazing is that angular momentum is occurring at all these levels. Now here's the additional thing we add to this. Fundamental fact that everything is spinning is we guess, we hypothesize that in this spin, in those subatomic particles with this angular momentum, with the Earth spinning on its axis, with the Earth going around the sun, with everything rotating and revolving around something, there is some patterns that are created in that spin, and the patterns are created by numbers. Numbers get embedded in the spin. This idea is no stranger than lots of ideas in physics, in quantum theory and relativity theory, all kinds of things that are hard to visualize. And this is really not that hard to visualize. The numbers are being thrown off. What numbers? Prime numbers, also Fibonacci numbers. What we're seeing on the right side of this slide are Fibonacci numbers in a rhythm. You can take the Fibonacci numbers, put them in a rhythm of 8, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. You can put them in a rhythm of 9. You can put them in a rhythm of 10. You can put them in many, many rhythms. They're called modulus functions in mathematics. You put them in these modulus functions, and voila, presto, magic, you have 12 sections of 30 degrees. That's a rather extraordinary coincidence. So what we're seeing here is modulus 10. Fibonacci numbers put in modulus 10. 10, excuse me. These are called Paisano periods. Don't worry about all the fancy language. Don't go, you just lost me. Don't worry about that. I want to get across just the concept. The concept is that embedded in spin, we're proposing there are these numbers get embedded. And look what happens. You end up with the number 0 occurring 4 times at the cardinal points, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. You end up with the number 5 at the beginning of the other zodiac signs. And those are the only places that 0 and 5 occur. And you end up with numbers creating beautiful patterns. We have all these 5-pointed stars, intricate, beautiful patterning. And if you analyze those patterns, believe it or not, you will see Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius syncing up with each other, fire signs. You'll see the earth signs syncing up with each other, air signs, water signs. You'll see cardinal, fixed, mutable. You'll see what we call antitia, contra antitia. All these principles of astrology are embedded there. We're taking spin, a fundamental force in life. From that fundamental force, there are structures in space. The most dominant structure that we have seen created by all these different Paisano periods is 12 sections of 30 degrees. I have video upon video upon video. I've made over 650, I think it's 680 videos. And I have videos on the details of how this is created and how the elements and the modes and all these things are created. There are some Paisano periods that create the 27 nakshatras and the 28 lunar mansions. Most of them create this. That's why this tends to be the dominant one. It's all so incredibly consistent. We have a form of astrology that is scientific. It's evidence-based, rigorously evidence-based. Evidence-based is a very specific thing. It has very rigorous requirements, a hierarchy of how you gain confidence, all kinds of technical rules. It doesn't mean, I've got evidence. I did 10 charts and it works, or 1,000 charts, or 100,000 charts. No, there's specific details to this. Vibrational astrology meets all those requirements for an evidence-based practice. And it's consistent with modern science, and it's consistent with spiritual thinking, spiritual philosophy. So Paisano periods, if we guess that they are embedded in spin, we get the zodiac. Again, if you want to learn the details of this, I've made over a dozen videos. It goes into tremendous detail. I've made also other videos on the theoretical framework for vibrational astrology. Here I'm emphasizing this one specific point, which is that the concept that you and I are a pure point of consciousness that is experiencing the immense, complex dance of life is exactly what vibrational astrology is about. And not only do these Paisano periods create the 12 signs, they also show why 0 Aries is the vernal equinox. And we understand this by understanding something called dimension reduction. Dimension reduction is a concept in superstring theory and other theories in physics. Lots of work that's done in mathematics and physics involves additional dimensions. Even the time-space continuum that Einstein introduced is based on the idea that time is a 4th dimension. So higher dimensions collapsing into lower dimensions, the entire sphere around us, 3-dimensional space, collapsing into great circles. And where these great circles intersect creates the vital, powerful points that become the generating power and the initiating points of the zodiac. Now, if that went over your head a little bit, actually what I'm saying is very simple, but it takes some time to explain it all. But here what I'm trying to do is just get across the idea, the larger concept, whereas in other videos I go into all these technical details, the larger concept that what we're talking about with vibrational astrology is the prism through which the essential forces, the spins out the variegated complexity of life. And so we have a way of understanding this. So to summarize, what is astrology? Let's pick up with this with part 2 of this. Let's do a 2-part series. I'm going to stop here and we will continue in part 2 because I like to make these videos about a half hour long. I'm at about 31 minutes now. Let's stop here. We'll have a part 2 and we'll continue and with our understanding of exactly how astrology and spirituality, specifically vibrational astrology, and one particular idea in spirituality, that we are connected to the infinite, pure, divine source, and we are experiencing this complexity. There's some really important points I want to make. I don't want to rush through them. Let's do this in 2 parts. So we'll stop here. We'll continue with this slide in part 2 of this series. Thank you very much, my friends, for listening. God bless. Namaste.